non-English collection, given
Sure.
our large population
Yes.
of non-English speakers. I want to talk about that, but let's go back on the second round of that. One last question in my remaining time with respect to capital. Is it your understanding, Mr. Bonvecchio, that the Southwest Library, that project itself is still dependent upon a sale of assets?
Yes, that's correct. It's funded with a funding term backed by sale of assets.
Have we identified, Mr. Bonvecchio, which assets we are going to sell?
One scenario that's being looked at is the possibility that the Southwest Library site itself could be leveraged and the library moved over to the proposed development at 1000 4th Street at the Southwest Waterfront Metro Station.
Have you had an opportunity to talk with the ward member about this particular issue, Mr. Wells?
We haven't had a detailed conversation, but there have been meetings with the ANC regarding the Southwest Library.
All right. What's the time frame? Because let me be clear. We are now, the project is now planned to expend next year $3.5 million for design and management of a $14 million facility that is contingent upon the sale of an asset which may or may not happen next year or the year after, right?
Right.
Well, that's what I want to know, because if there's $3.5 million that is contingent upon, if there's a condition precedent before we go forward with this project, which is the sale of land, if that hasn't happened, or not, if it isn't likely to happen in 2015, as we're trying to cobble money together for projects that are shovel-ready, Mr. Reyes-Gavilan, do you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because again, we're not trying to deprive any community of what they're looking for, but if the project isn't shovel-ready, parking money there may not be our best objective when we have another shovel-ready project that we are moving 5 years or 4 years ahead.
Provided it's not for planning, it's something that I think that we're willing to absolutely discuss.
All right. Mr. Bonvecchio, you had a comment, and I'd like to have the benefit of that before
No,
we go on.
I was going to add, we have been working with DEMPED regarding the Southwest site and 1000 4th Street. However, the $3 million, like you said, we can't do anything with the $3 million until there's an actual sale of asset. There's no general obligation bonds with that money.
If you were to receive the $21.7 million, would you be able to begin your planning and construction of the Palisades Parade into the Palisades? That was a Freudian slip. I've been to so many of those parades. Yeah, the Palisades Library before the end of fiscal year 15.
The planning process, yes, but not all $21 million could be spent on construction. But we could start the design.
Let me ask it differently. Is it the intent on the Palisades Library that we're going to renovate the existing site, so no other condition precedent has to happen? So if we had the planning dollars and we made the dollars available, you could begin in 15 with the planning, and provided you had cross-year capital allocation, you could build the facility.
Right. It would follow a very similar path that what we would do with Cleveland Park. The same path in terms of planning and design and 15.
Final question. The $21.7 million for the design build of the project, does that include the leased space for a temporary space?
It does. That's the complete,
all right,
fully funded project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Grasso.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'd like to allow Councilmember Wells to go before me, and then I'll go after him. He has somewhere to go in a bit here.
Mr. Wells.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for bringing up the Southwest Library. I believe that there's some discussion of whether to incorporate it into the 4th Street project versus building it on the site where it is. The community is fairly strong that they want a standalone library like we have in other neighborhoods, and of course the standalone library model has worked really to strengthen neighborhoods in terrific ways. Is that delaying, explain how or where we are with the funding of the Southwest Library, and explain the contingency and explain what has to happen in order to move forward.
Right now, nothing can happen with the Southwest Library until there's a sale of asset to back that money.
Unless money's moved from somewhere else.
Unless the money becomes our standard general obligation bonds, we could then start the planning process at Southwest. But as it stands, there's no action we can take because there's no money there's nothing backing that funding right now,
And so not even for a planning process.
not even for a planning process.
And it's based upon the sale of what, 1000 4th Street?
No, it's my understanding is it's based on the sale or leveraging the value of the Wesley Place site where the Southwest Library currently is.
And then to build it somewhere else.
And then the one idea is to build it on the 4th Street site, and then something else could be built
Right,
on the
and
Wesley
so
Place site.
the problem with that, I just want to be real clear for the record, is that there's a Southwest small area planning process going on. And the neighborhood was assured, because there's so many neighborhood assets involved in that neighborhood, assured that no decisions have been made. And already to see that the funding's contingent upon a decision that is not in line with where the neighbors are and where they're planning is problematic. And so, because obviously it looks like the decision is fait complete here, which is never true until it's done. And so I think that, and also to the chair, that there's going to have to be some incorporation into the thought of that the site of where the current library is may be the site of where the future library is. And again, the idea that standalone libraries do have a different impact on neighborhoods than when they're incorporated. And in Southwest, there is so much public land and so many public assets, where it be, Landsberg Playground, certainly all the other rec areas. It just does not make sense necessarily if that is not where the community wants to go. So I see that. Has this been voted on in this form by the council or anywhere else?
It's been it was backed by that same sale of assets in the FY14 through FY19 approved capital budget.
So it's just been in the capital budget where that's the line item where the money's to come
Yes,
from?
that code.
Based on the sale of its own library?
Yes, or another government asset. It's not specific about what asset. It's just a asset.
Yeah, we sell the Reeve Center. So, Mr. Reyes Gavilan, welcome to D.C.
Thank you, Councilmember.
And hopefully this is not a probationary period, that you are going to stay, that it gets a lot rougher than this. One of the things that we've talked about is the money that's allocated for the new library services for our incarcerated